Hello and welcome to another episode of Put Me in Coach on episode 61, Diamondbacks versus Dodgers Game 3. And I would definitely tell you enough from yesterday of enough. I said I hope of enough. The baseball gods will be on the Diamondbacks side, but they did not help very well. So, fortunately enough, the baseball gods helped Shohei Ohtani instead. Lineup of today, Kento Marte is taking a break, so we don't see Marte in the lineup. So Perdomo is taking the top, playing shortstop. Pavin Smith playing DH. Brian Welchman playing center field. Vargas playing second base. Jose Fernandez playing first base. And Tommy Troy as left field. And the rest is the same and stuff. Again, of enough. Shohei Ohtani was pitching and stuff. We only got 2 base hits off of him, and that is it. And I believe enough. I don't think we even got any hits off the bullpen of the Dodgers. So 2 hits in the whole game. Yeah, we cannot win as that and stuff. Like, it's just, it cannot and stuff. Like, I get it was the Dodgers. I get it was Shohei was starting pitching and stuff. But just in a way of enough, if nobody cannot hit or one person get hit or whatever and stuff, like, yeah, there was a little probably walk here and there and stuff. Not so much of it. But in some ways enough. Like, I'm glad enough it was like a no-hitter or a perfect game from us of enough. Like, I sometimes enough, like, I'm a little afraid of that, where enough of, like, we make enough of, like, when they're so talented pitchers like Paul Skeens and Brian Wu and Shohei Ohtani and stuff. When I see these guys are pitching and they're doing so well, they're so into the game enough of we don't have no runs at all. We didn't get no base hits or anything and stuff. Like, is the Diamondbacks are too easy to get a perfect game or no hitter or just do so well of it and stuff. Like, I'm more of surprised enough of we're not letting that from the pitchers and stuff. Like, I'm glad enough seeing Brand Wu got his perfect game, got shot off of ACDC, ADCDC, ADC, in a way and stuff. But it just, I don't know, and especially enough of we got a little bit hits from Paul Skeens and stuff, and like, again, these pitchers can go for a perfect game and stuff, but I guess they're human in some ways and stuff, but in generally enough, to be honest enough, I don't know. I don't know. Shohei Ohtani is from this planet, to be honest. Just like, it's just so crazy to think about that. I'm afraid of that could absolutely happen. Fortunately enough, it didn't. So I'm kind of glad, like thank goodness of enough of not throwing a no hitter off of my team or perfect game, because it'd be so tragic enough. Like, I will love that the Diamondbacks would do that, give it like a no hitter, perfect game and stuff. Like, the most closest person got like a no hitter from the Diamondbacks currently, what I know and stuff, was Kelly and stuff, and that was probably like in 2023, I believe, and stuff. But that's the closest of enough. But as like a perfect game, I thinking Rodriguez had a perfect game maybe in the 6th inning, and then that kind of fired off and stuff. So not so much what I seen and stuff, and who knows enough. Like, I currently enough what I remember enough for like Clayton Kershaw probably had a chance to go for a perfect game, and Dave Roberts took him out later on and stuff, from not from just facing the Diamondbacks, but like just doing it generally of enough. But yeah, I'm more of surprised, like, Dave Roberts took him out early of enough when he had a perfect game or no hitter and stuff. Obviously enough they had no hitters before. Like even Max Scherzer had it before. Max Scherzer almost had a perfect game um, once and stuff, and fortunately enough that person, moved his elbow down for a base hit. A hit by pitch basically and stuff to ruin his perfect game and stuff. So um, you notice enough of it. Same thing with like Justin Verlander. Like those are like the most biggest three like pitchers out there with over 3,000 strikeouts in their career and stuff. And to be honest enough, I don't know Justin Verlander is still pitching and stuff, some ways and stuff, but currently enough of what I know. Only thing I know he's still on the Tigers at this time, but I know Scherzer's still pitching. I know. Kershaw is retired right now, but those are like the most biggest three, and none of them never got a perfect game and stuff. And the closest one was Max Scherzer. So I'd be more of not enough of a surprise enough for like Paul Skeens or Shohei Ohtani or Christopher Sanchez or Tarek Skubal. Like none of that. Like you'd be more of surprise. Like you would absolutely see them get a perfect game. Like last time somebody did a perfect game in this modern day time and stuff was, I believe, one of the pitcher for the Yankees and stuff. They pitched a perfect game, and that was like, I don't know what year it was, like 2021, 2022, or something like that. It's around there and stuff. I just know that for fact enough. It was around at this time, like about 3 or 4 years ago and stuff. That was the last time we heard a perfect game and stuff. And then also enough of having a no-hitter in the 2022 World Series with the Astros against the Phillies and stuff. That never done before because there was a perfect game. I believe it was in 1956 World Series, Yankees versus Dodgers, and I think the Yankees did the perfect game with one person. So, and also the Astros was no combined no hitter and stuff. So sometimes enough it doesn't really count, but it actually does. But in some ways enough. But yeah, those are the things enough. Like I'm a little afraid of seeing the Diamondbacks, thinking enough of like they're too easy enough to make it as a no hitter or a perfect game and stuff. So it depends enough of how the batting's doing good, how the pitching is doing good, and fortunately enough, I'm glad enough we got a couple, just only 2 hits. Like I'm glad enough that we did not give Shohei Ohtani a perfect game or anything, or just a no hitter and stuff. But because the only people who got base hits off of him was Perdomo and Marino, and that's it and stuff. So I think Marino was the first one, and then Perdomo did one later on and stuff, and then he walked Tommy Troy later on and stuff. So just to show of enough of like we can, get a base hit pretty much on any pitcher there is and stuff. But I guess enough of like the pitcher got to be so super like solid in to get a perfect game and stuff, and somehow enough of we got a base hit off of Shohei somehow of enough today and stuff. So I guess that's a positive, but fortunately enough, the negative is we didn't get enough hits off of Shohei, and fortunately to that, we didn't do so well in the game and stuff. So just letting you know of that. Like I'm like sometimes enough. Like I'm a little bit worried enough of just like is the Diamondbacks are too easy to face and stuff. Like that's where I'm a little worried. Like I want the passion enough to see the fire in the Diamondbacks' eyes enough to go out there and have some, challenge or just confidence or whatever and stuff to go out there and face off and do your best, because you don't want to make it easy for your opponent, because fortunately enough, like I get it, Shohei did good, whatever and stuff, yeah, but we also need to do good as well and not make it so easy and stuff. Especially enough of a pitcher is, 2-time MVP as a hitter, but trying to go for the Cy Young for this year, especially enough of the National League, is just absolutely insane going for the Cy Young for the National League as well, especially the other people I just named as well. But yeah, it's just so crazy to think about of enough of I get it about of how easy was Shohei of making as baseball for him in a way, batting and pitching and stuff. Nobody haven't done that before besides Babe Ruth and stuff. So I'm not saying Babe Ruth made it much easier. And again, don't say it enough. It was back then in the 1900s. Like, that's BS in some ways and stuff. Like, you gotta understand enough of Walter Johnson was pitching around at that time as well, and he is one of the best pitchers in the world and stuff. Currently, enough of people of it. He has the best WAR. So just letting you know of that in any way and stuff, and especially enough of Ty Cobb, one of the first Hall of Fame people made in the Hall of Fame in the MLB and stuff, was terrified from Walter Johnson. So you absolutely can see that from enough, especially enough for a person hit so much hits in their career and stuff, and they had the second best high career base hits. Besides enough of Pete Rose is now number one and stuff. So you gotta understand from that standpoint of enough of pitchers can be so dominated, and other great batters and stuff can be more terrified from pitchers and stuff. So just currently in some ways of that, and Babe Ruth was absolutely, I wouldn't say disgusting from back then he played and stuff, but he was very dominated and stuff. So I could absolutely say that in a way and stuff. And also enough, there's other players back then and stuff made the Hall of Fame. So don't say that enough of back then in the 1900s was easy, because they don't do the same things in the modern world of baseball. Like, I get it. People threw much faster now than back then. But the thing is, people were, didn't have the same technique of being strong. They never had weights or whatever and stuff. They had to work on farms and other things enough to get them in good shape and stuff, run track, whatever and stuff. They never had machines enough to lift weights and stuff. You got to understand from that point of view of enough of modern time, people got much stronger in the early of the, I would definitely say maybe around in the 1950s to this point and stuff, because who knows enough in the 1930s they had some type of things or weights and stuff. They could and stuff, but in the 1900s, like, talk about like 1917 and stuff, like, yeah, you think enough of they actually had weights at the time. They could, but did they use it as like lifting weights and trying to lose weight and stuff? Like, that's another thing of enough of what they actually did use to get strong and stuff. And to me of enough, I thinking just hard work on yard and doing bunch of big things or building things or whatever and stuff, just all these typical things like they did back then to get strong or whatever and stuff. So being built different from before in the past and now in the present time and stuff, it's completely different and stuff. So yeah, you can definitely say of enough of pitchers didn't throw hard enough, or the field was not large as what we have right now and stuff. So I get enough of you're trying to compare of back then and now and stuff. It is different. I would definitely say that. But I would definitely say of enough, there was very competitive players back then in the 1900s as well and stuff. And there's a ton of them. Like there's so many other good players in the 1900s made the Hall of Fame because that's how good they were and stuff. Doesn't matter enough of how weak they were, how far they throw and stuff. There was no steroids at that time and stuff. Like you gotta understand from that point of view where what they did back then and what we had now and stuff in like the 1980s, 1990s, and now in the 2000s and stuff. So like you gotta also understand of that and stuff. So, but yeah, I know I went a little off with that and stuff while we're still talking about the lineup and stuff, but just gotta understand enough of what they can do and what's the difference enough of Shohei with Babe Ruth and stuff than back then and now and stuff. So that's why I was trying to talk about it a lot more and stuff. And I would definitely say it's completely different. The baseball sports is completely different from the 1900s and now, like completely different and stuff. I don't know if you tell me of enough of who was better currently right now, enough of who, like if Babe Ruth was still playing at this time again and stuff, like if he had a chance to play MLB like currently now with the players we have and stuff, to be honest enough, this would be very interesting of enough of what happened if you bring all of the 1900 players against the players right now and stuff. Like, to be honest enough of it. And again, you can have like different eras of baseball of years and stuff and have them face each other and stuff. Like you got like you can have the whole team of the New York Yankees in the 50s and stuff against the present time Yankees. Who do you think and who could absolutely win a game and stuff in a series and stuff? In my opinion, I would definitely say the 1950s Yankees because I don't thinking like this modern Yankees team would absolutely destroy enough with Mickey Mantle and Whitey Ford and Yogi Berra and Joe DiMaggio. Like, there's no way you can absolutely defeat this. Like, I get you got Aaron Judge on your team, but it's the difference enough of what they did before and what other times enough now of it and stuff. Like, yeah, Yankees have a great team overall and stuff now and stuff, but back then it was completely different and Mickey Mantle was dominated. He's one of like the best players out there and stuff, and mostly generation from the Yankees organization and stuff. That's how good he is and stuff, especially enough of a switch hitter and stuff. That's tough, so I don't know about that and stuff. It's just like something about the legend of the Yankees about it and stuff. It's so iconic to them and stuff. But in reality enough, did the Yankees absolutely win a World Series? At the time, I get it, they've been in the 2024. They lost against the Dodgers. I totally understand that and stuff. Last time they've been in the World Series in 1981. They lost against the Dodgers. Completely different team. I totally understand that and stuff. But did you actually understand enough of me saying the 1950s Yankees with those players I just named I'm just going to name two, man. Those are the most biggest players, in my opinion, to the team was so dominated and stuff, and that was Mickey Mantle and Whitey Ford and stuff. Yeah, that team won 5 in a row to 1949 to 1953 and stuff. Like, I get it enough of they face they faced the Dodgers 3 times in that era and stuff and beat the Phillies and the Giants. So, in generally of enough of in that way of beating very dominated team like the Dodgers, especially enough in Brooklyn and stuff. That was the time when Jackie Robinson was on the team and stuff. And then for the Giants, they had Willie Mays and stuff, and probably other great players on that team as well and stuff. And honestly enough, I don't know the Phillies that well in the 50s, but I have a feeling enough of they're pretty good to get to the World Series and stuff, but the Yankees were just so dominated at that time. So, in a way, enough of comparing the two of that right now and stuff, because if you definitely say enough of like, oh, like the 1990s people like Barry Bonds and stuff, that era and stuff against modern baseball right now and stuff, who do you think and who's going to win and stuff, currently of enough of it doesn't make no sense enough of a team absolutely have a person with steroids and stuff, and mostly like more of steroids people like A-Rod and Mark McGuire, Sammy Sosa, Jose Seiko, like all those people, like even Roger Clemens to be a pitcher in a way and stuff, like all these pitchers, like all these players enough to have steroids in the 80s and 90s and stuff was so dominated and stuff. Do you think enough of they would absolutely be against the players now in modern time and stuff? In some ways, yes, in a way, but currently enough of what you're going to see, yeah, the steroids are going to help mostly of enough. But if enough of, like, say enough of the people in the 90s were all steroids in a way and stuff, and then you say enough of the modern time enough of the people of it, also had steroids, like just imagine enough to seeing Shohei Ohtani with steroids, or Paul Skeens on steroids, dude, like it would be absolutely insane matchup of steroids versus steroids, 1990 versus modern time and stuff. People will be dead at this time. People would not be healthy. People would be sick, and we wouldn't have no baseball anymore. Yeah, I want to move on. Sorry. I know I went a little off here and there and stuff, just talking about old baseball and stuff. Pitching wise enough, Zach Gallen starting for a pitcher for the Diamondbacks. He went 5 innings, gave up 9 hits, struck out once, walked 2, gave up 5 runs. So, yeah, the only thing from yesterday, I specifically enough, I hope he does well so he can tribute of enough to be good as Shohei Ohtani if Ohtani did do good and stuff. Fortunately enough, it just didn't really respect of what he is and stuff. He's been having problems and stuff. So, yeah, just didn't go the way we wanted, and Gallen got a couple of hits off of him. 9 hits, just not that good. And getting 1 strikeout and stuff, not so much. He walked 2, and the only 2 people he walked was Shohei and stuff. But 5 runs, yeah, it kind of hurts in a way and stuff. And then unfortunately enough, yeah, who started to Fuzzy in a way. He's the freaking unicorn in baseball. Currently enough of I don't know he's from this planet in a way. I really don't know. Like does alien do exist in this world? He went 6 innings, gave up 2 hits, struck out 5, walked once, no runs. Walk 1, no run. So obviously, yeah, going 6 innings, just only giving up 2 hits, couple strikes here and there, 1 walk, it's totally fine and stuff. He did very, very dominated enough. The Diamondbacks definitely did not get no runs in this game, so they got shut out, by the way, and stuff. So, yeah, it sucks of enough. It's hard enough for a very talented pitcher against the Diamondbacks. It's going to be rough. We hope enough that they can do good against a really good pitcher, but fortunately enough, the pitcher just did so dominated in that way, and so Shohei did that and stuff. Bullpen for the Diamondbacks: Taylor Clark, Brandon Pfaadt, Ryan Thompson, and Jonathan Liskia, and the only person who gave them only runs is Brandon Pfaadt and stuff, and whatever and stuff. So the rest did okay and stuff, but not enough of for us to get on board and stuff. So right now we're gonna go into the scoring and stuff. I kind of took up couple things off, but mostly enough. The rest is mostly the Dodgers and stuff. Diamondbacks did not get nothing at all. Kyle Tucker hit a 2-home run to make it 2-0, top of the second. Freddie Freeman with a 2 RBI single to make it 4-0, top of third. Max Muncy with a RBI single to make it 5-0, on top of the third. And then Alex Freeland with a 2 RBI single to make it 7-0, top of the seventh. And that is the final score, 0-7. Our record right now is 32-29. So we're kind of losing our times enough of our winning streaks away and stuff. So yeah, it's tough getting a shutout and stuff. You understand enough of, like, it's the Dodgers. Yeah, it's this time enough that it's kind of hard in this way and stuff. We hope enough of they do good and stuff. Progress enough for tomorrow in a way and stuff. Hopefully enough we can do damage over the Dodgers stuff. We did win game 1 and stuff. 2 and 3 is a lost cause for us and stuff. We were very close to win game 2. Game 3 kind of slipped away from us because of Shohei and stuff. So we just got to get back in the game and because we really need to win tomorrow and stuff, because if we do win tomorrow, we totally split the game against the Dodgers and stuff. And then if we lose, then we lose a series over the Dodgers. So they just need to get their head straight in a way where enough of just like we need to get out there, get dominated and stuff. Again, I'm a little afraid enough for tomorrow because they do have a good pitcher starting tomorrow and stuff. I don't know who he is and stuff, but currently enough of what I saw the stats, he had good numbers and stuff. And I know Nelson is pitching for tomorrow, so hopefully enough he can hack in the play and tracking these Dodgers offense and stuff. So that's the most biggest thing. Again, starting pitching and pitching and stuff. They just need to get better and stuff. You cannot let these offense to get on you too early in the game and stuff. And then, fortunately enough, for the offense cannot do nothing in a way and stuff. Like, I get the bullpen is doing good and stuff, but in a way of enough, like, it's just like we need to get back into it in a way for not letting so much runs as a starting pitcher and stuff. So that's the toughest thing about that and stuff. Like, yeah, we could get back into it, but fortunately the offense didn't do nothing at all and stuff. I was looking for a comeback for the Diamondbacks today, but again, it's just the Diamondbacks were just too dominated. Shohei was dominated. The whole team was dominated, and we just had nothing off of them. So it just didn't go our way in a way and stuff. So it's a bummer, but hopefully of enough we do win tomorrow. If not, then it's a bummer and stuff. And so for that enough, we just got to walk it off and just say, it's the Dodgers. Let them get the win and stuff and just be dominated with other teams. And if they come back and play us again in Dodger Stadium or here, we just got to be dominated. So that's the only positive thing to have and stuff. And doesn't matter who's better, who's of it and stuff. We just gotta go out there and play the game right. So that's biggest thing about that and stuff. Hopefully you guys enjoyed this episode. Hopefully you guys have a great day, and thank you for watching.